Have you ever looked up in mid-December and thought, wait, we get here already? And I'm not talking about just the holidays. Life, midlife, the entire year. The first third of my year was about buying my new place and then everything that comes along with that. The moving, the unpacking, getting settled. And then summer showed up. I was working on my outside space. And then suddenly, blink, just like that, Labor Day was gone. Now it's December and the holidays somehow snuck up on me, despite thinking I was always ahead. Are you feeling like that? Your circumstances may be a little bit similar. Like time sped up, your energy dipped, and your tolerance is just a little bit thinner than it used to be. I want you to hear this clearly. That is not personal failure. That's your nervous system in midlife, my friends. And today we're talking about why. Hey, friends. Welcome back to Second Opinion, where science meets story. And midlife, it is not problems to solve. It's about systems to understand. I'm Rose, journalist, perfusionist, and a woman navigating midlife real time alongside with you. You may have noticed I've been doing more solo episodes lately, and that's very much intentional. As I prepare for the second round of season 2 interviews, I wanted to pause and talk directly to you, my audience, about what's actually happening in our bodies during this time of life, because this show is about midlife health, not just hormones, not just mindset, but the whole entire system. And lately, there's been a lot of talk in wellness spaces about, quote, resetting the nervous system, end quote. So I'm going to break down that whole concept a little bit today. So what does that actually mean? And why does it matter so much during the holidays, especially for those of us in midlife, perimenopause, and menopause? Once upon a time, we thought stress solely lived in our minds. And science says otherwise, as a lot of us may know. Your nervous system is your body's command center. It includes your brain, your spinal cord, and your peripheral nerves. And its primary job is really, really simple: to keep you alive. Yep, that is what our nervous system is doing 24/7. And at every single moment in time, it is asking one question: am I safe? And from that question flows a myriad of different reactions, right? Heart rate and blood pressure are regulated. Your blood sugar is regulated. Your digestion and gut health are doing their thing. Your immune system is responding. Your sleep quality is in check. Hormones are signaling back and forth. Your mood, focus, and emotional regulation is holding steady. And at the center of this system is the autonomic nervous system. And your autonomic nervous system has two branches. Your sympathetic, which is fight, flight, right? That urgency and that adrenaline rush that you feel. And then your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the opposite. It's about rest, digesting everything, repairing, and recovery. We need both of these things, right? In life, that's all about balance. We're taking action and then we're responding, and we are resting from those responses. And here's the critical point we don't discuss enough. Healing, hormonal balance, emotional resilience, and metabolic health becomes significantly harder when the nervous system perceives this constant threat. And in midlife, perception changes. Yes, our perception does become a little bit more relaxed overall. That's what life and wisdom gives us. However, suddenly the rules are going to change, right? Because midlife isn't just about psychological perception, etc. It's physiological. So now we have another layer. And for women in perimenopause and menopause, we have estrogen changes, right? And our estrogen, which has a calming, protective effect on the brain, it's fluctuating, right? And it's declining. Our cortisol responses are becoming a little more sharper. Sleep becomes lighter and a little more fragmented. If you know, you know. Blood sugar regulation becomes less forgiving. Hence, we start putting on weight in our middle. And recovery from stress takes a little bit longer, right? We could work longer, need less sleep, workouts. Like, we just need a little more downtime. I think most of us can relate who are listening in this, 40 plus category. So translation, your nervous system becomes more sensitive, not weaker. It's just a little more honest, right? That's the beauty about midlife. Our bodies, our brains, our mouths, we just become a little more honest and transparent. So, and for the men listening, we now have the declining testosterone, disrupted sleep, chronic stress, and heightened nervous system reactivity in midlife, along with the women. Now we're going to layer in the modern world. We've got constant stimulation, packed schedules, emotional labor, financial pressure, and we talked about family and friend dynamics in a few of the last episodes, and holiday expectations. And the bottom line is, it's really important that we're intentional. If we're not intentional about our downtime, this is when we're going to start feeling these effects, because we have information coming at us 24/7 and people expect to reach us 24/7, right? Family, friends, and work. So here's the truth that no one's saying out loud. The holidays don't dysregulate your nervous system. They're really just exposing how much we've been carrying all year. So everything is just kind of coming to a tipping point. And this is where neuroscience gives us an important concept, neuroception. You got that? So your nervous system has an unconditional radar it's constantly scanning for safety or threat 24/7. Our body is working on our favor. And this does not happen without logic. This is just happen all the time. When we're sleeping, when we're resting, our body is constantly scanning for things that could potentially really hurt us. So if you notice feeling on edge for no reason, irritable, and you don't really recognize why, and this anxiety mixed with exhaustion, emotional numbness, or wanting to withdraw instead of break out the champagne and celebrate, it's not that you're not grateful. It's not ingratitude. That's biology meeting midlife. Common signs of nervous system dysregulation include feeling wired, right? You have all this energy, but you're tired. Sleep disruption, digestive issues, mood swings, overwhelm after social events, and holiday blues or depression. And here's an important oversimplification we need to clear up. You don't, quote, reset, end quote, a nervous system like a device. It's not as simple. We can think of it that way, but we're really talking about here is recalibrating ourselves. And what's the good news in all of this recalibration is that your nervous system is plastic. And what do I mean by that? It adapts through repeated signals of safety, not force and not perfection. And the regulation doesn't mean avoiding stress. It means improving recovery. Does that make sense? It's not about avoiding those things that put a little pressure on us. It's how we respond and how we recover mentally and physically. So I'm going to give you some science-backed strategies that support your nervous system recalibration, okay, in midlife. 1, think about rhythm over hustle. We're talking about regular sleep and wake times. They matter the most when it comes to optimization, going to bed and waking up the same time 7 days a week. Because this consistency calms the nervous system, especially during these hormonal shifts. Even if you don't fall asleep right away, just creating that morning and bedtime routine for yourself. And then piggybacking off of other episodes, that's all about saying yes and no accordingly to your schedule. Again, this is not about being rude or inconsiderate. This is about honoring your own health. 2, breath that speaks to your vagus nerve. And what do I mean by that? longer exhales activates that parasympathetic pathway, that rest, recovery, and response part of the nervous system that I was talking about. And this is not woo-woo. This is anatomy. There is a lot of science to deep, long, diaphragmatic breathing. Now I'm going to talk about gentle supportive movement, as I mentioned before. Walking, stretching, light strength training. Think of movement as communication for your body, not punishment. Very consistent movement. It doesn't have to be arduous. It doesn't have to be one more thing you add to your schedule. Just think of it, the bookends of your day. Maybe you do it in the middle of your day. I talked a little bit about resetting yourself after your workday before you come in contact with your loved ones, right? To regulate your nervous system so you don't bring that home to them. So just bringing that up again. And your sensory safety. So what do I mean by sensory safety? Things that make you feel calm. Warm showers, weighted blankets, taking a bath. I want you to think about safety as being felt, not thought. This is not something we can think our way through. This is something we feel our way through. And the fifth thing that I want to talk about, boundaries. I know I talk about boundaries a lot, but I do feel like in midlife, I know by this time in midlife, we definitely have, I don't really want to say the word stronger, but clearer boundaries. And just from life experience, right? We know how and what pushes our buttons and what kind of time we need for ourselves. And this overcommitting, so when we don't set these boundaries, right? Because boundaries are biological, right? Overcommitting equals chronic stress, as we talked about. And every no and yes to yourself protects your nervous system and your hormones. I just wanted to hone in on that again. And my own personal take, because I do really feel that connection is very, very important and essential. And I am actually going to be doing an episode on this. I'm actually preparing for this week that will be dropping in January about relationships in midlife. Our nervous system relaxes around people you don't have to impress, right? And midlife teaches us that quality beats quantity. Maybe it's just smaller groups. Maybe you have more get-togethers, but they're smaller. Or maybe you don't have as many get-togethers, but you still keep them smaller. We all know those people in our life that we can call on the drop of a dime. And I'm dating myself, going back to an old payphone, drop of a dime. But those people, we've got those people that, yes, we can commiserate with, but I want to focus on those people that we celebrate with. Those people, no matter what, you can just grab a coffee, grab a bite, grab an appetizer, just be yourself with. They are so essential to us. And do more of that. And be really clear who you bring into your friend groups. I know in the past I used to try to not consolidate, but I wanted everybody, like, we have all these different compartmental, different sides of our life. Our work friends, our friends we grew up with, our college friends, friends from different activities that we do. And in the past, I wanted everybody to meet and I wanted everybody to be friends. And, in our 20s and 30s where we have more connection, we want to connector, energy. And now I'm like, no. I definitely have separate groups of friends that serve different things. So let's focus on the good times and those people that are like, woohoo, ready to celebrate you no matter what. Yeah, we need more of those. And I you probably are listening and agree with me, I would think, or hope, or give you something to think about. Okay. So a midlife nervous system reset isn't about doing more. It's about fewer expectations, more recovery, just letting joy be quieter but deeper, and allowing this season to be softer. Doesn't necessarily have to be smaller, just a little bit softer. So here's the reframe I want you to take with you from this episode. Your nervous system isn't malfunctioning. It's responding to a life that got a little more complex and listening to it, right? That's the wisdom. There are seasons in life when the body feels worn, the mind is stretched thin, and the weight of responsibility feels heavier, right? Feels heavier than ever. And yet, beneath the fatigue, there's a quiet whisper, a vision, a goal, a future that refuses to go silent, a desire. I say the word goal. Goal can sometimes feel a little spiky and like to-do-ish, and sometimes that can give us a little resistance. So I like to use the word vision, okay? You might be tired, but you are not finished. Here's the nervous system truth. You don't get tired from your vision, from your desire, from your goal. You get tired from the misalignment of your vision, from living a life your body no longer believes is sustainable. Because misalignment is, my friends, stress. Your tiredness doesn't define your destiny. Your vision does. As we wrap up this episode, I'm going to leave you with that thought because I find that to be very helpful when I wake up and conduct my day. Like, what is in alignment with my life vision or my daily vision or my hour vision? You don't have to, because maybe thinking long term stresses you out. So maybe it's just about what's my vision for my morning, right? And as you wrap up, what's my vision as you de-stress at the end of the day? You can start small. So if this year disappeared a lot faster than you expected, if the holidays feel a little heavier than they used to, it's your body asking for gentleness instead of grit. Listen, it's not because you weren't paying attention. It's because your nervous system has been really busy holding everything together this entire year and through the holiday season. I'm going to share a little bit of my personal life. So this weekend here in New York, we had our very first real snowstorm of the season. The kind that just quiets everything, brightens everything, and just makes this very, very busy city really feel calm for just a couple moments before the snow gets dirty. So it's so peaceful. And honestly, I've been craving that, and I cannot remember snow this time of year for at least 20 years. So for me, I feel like this is another holiday and Christmas miracle. So Sunday morning, this city, it was wrapped in this beautiful blanket of white. If you know, you know, right? Those of us who live or go to these environments, this is when I do enjoy winter, when it snows, actually. And it's that quiet that only the snow brings, right? You know the one. Snow is still falling, so people are still hunkered down inside. It happened to be Sunday morning. And I just remember standing there with a sip of hot coffee, watching it fall, watching my dog play, enjoying it. And I love watching him because he's 15. So he had this real burst of like youthful puppy energy in the snow. So that was really fun. And just watching him enjoy. And I sat there. And even though my phone rang in the middle of it all, calling me back into work, I worked all day Saturday and was really looking forward to my Sunday to myself. But, that's what happens in healthcare when you work in healthcare, pretty much anywhere. And we are particularly busy here in New York City. Those few moments of stillness, even though it was just a couple hot sips of coffee, and then I had to turn around, call my dog inside, put my coffee in my hydro flask and get ready and go out the door for work. But for those few moments, that softened light on all the rooftops, on the tree branches, right? Those quiet sidewalks, they calm my nervous system, even as life kept happening, even as the phone call came. Right? Even as I knew all these things now were going to happen, it really did calm my nervous system. And that's the point. Midlife isn't asking you to push. It is asking you to understand the system that you're living in and not to work against it, but with it. Use with the environment that you have. So as you move through these final weeks of December and begin to look forward to the new year, let me leave you with a few questions to sit with, not to rush, not to fix, but to maybe ask yourself to reflect a little bit. Where am I running on adrenaline? instead of alignment? What identity am I clinging to that my body is not really sustaining? What is a daily signal of safety I can practice consistently? What would my future self choose today, not in January, as we talked about in the last episode? And what gets to be simpler next year so that my nervous system can be stronger? As we head into season 2 of the podcast, I am sitting down with experts in longevity, career, relationships, as I mentioned, reinvention, and resilience, all through the same lens that you heard today: science, context, and a little bit of compassion for ourselves in this time of our life, because better understanding of all these things lead to better health and better lives. So if this episode resonated, share it with someone who might need it, and follow or subscribe wherever you listen. It is so, so appreciated. It really does help the podcast reach more people and midlifers who want real answers. And it's helping us with our mission to reach millions of midlifers that are going through the same things. So, as we wrap it up, I'm Rosemarie Beltz, coming to you from Brooklyn. Thank you again for being here with me. Thank you for listening and trusting this process. Until next time, take care of that nervous system, because, it's been taking care of you for decades. This is Second Opinion, where science meets story, and age is always, always, always your advantage. Till next time.